My name's Gill and I thought I would demonstrate how to create an alternative design using the same mechanics, the same floral foam as a previous design that I've already demonstrated to you that looked like this. And so what I want to do is to show you how to use the existing floral foam in a totally different way to create a lovely table arrangement for us for a round table. So I'm just going to explain how to do it. So having removed all the flowers and foliage, we've ended up with the mechanics like so. And all I'm going to do is just remove the kebab sticks that impale the two semicircles together, and there we have our mechanics. So what I'm going to do is I am going to remind you how we got to that stage, just in case some of you who are watching have not seen the puffed Cordyline table design that I made in a video earlier on. So I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to put that to one side. So I'm going to work with one block of floral foam, and what I'm going to do is to take a kebab stick and measure 1 thumb thickness on one side towards the back and 1 thumb thickness to the other. I'm then going to take my very long knife and I'm just going to cut through the floral foam, just gently pushing down, easing the knife through to the base of the floral foam, and then I've created 2 placements, one which is about 1 inch, and then I've got the remainder here. I'm going to work with the remainder, and I'm taking my Nan's old plate, and I've chosen to use this plate because the plate is actually the right size to draw around to create a semicircular shape. So I place the plate onto the floral foam, and with my kebab stick I just very carefully draw around the outside edge like so. Having done that, I then need to cut the floral foam, and I'm going to take a steak knife and I'm going to hold this in a vertical position and saw vertically around just following the drawn line of the kebab stick to create that lovely semicircle. So I'm just going to cut like so. I'm then going to remove the residue and gently rub the outside edge so that I get a nice soft finish. Place the semicircle on your workbench and then just chop in half, like so. Just rub the edges slightly just to actually make sure that you do not have any of the oasis dust here, the floral foam dust. And then really this is how we made the outline shape of our puffed Cordyline design, where we had 2 little fillets just going through the centre. So if I just get the fillets just to remind you. So this time we're just going to work with the 2 semicircles and the base. And yes, the base will have a few holes in, but that really doesn't matter. What I'm going to do now is to take the actual base of the floral foam, and I need to cut round about just a generous inch. Just cut like so, straight the way through. Place it on top of the remainder of the base. Hold it into position, and then just cut again all the way through. And then I'm just going to place the top piece to one side and get the two of these semicircles. And what I'm wanting to do is then just to attach the semicircles into position either side of that slim piece of floral foam in the centre, just to make it slightly not round. So I'm just going to place these so they sit there like so. Take a kebab stick, and what you're wanting to do is you're going to try to aim that kebab stick to go through the first semicircle, go through the central fillet to the second, and it didn't work. So let's have another go and see if we can do that. So we just place the two semicircles so that they either side of the fillet. Take a kebab stick, and it is a bit of sort of trial and error, just to see if you can actually get them to go straight through. And this time they have. And then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to aim that. So you're trying to keep it level so that you can get it through everything without it sticking through to the base. Then I'm going to just cut these and push those in, and just for good measure I just want to actually add just another one so he goes straight through and into the other semicircle so that they sit there like that quite nicely, and then just cut that and push it in. I'm going to take the smaller pieces that I had left, and what I'm wanting to do is just to again aim those towards the edges here, again just to help to hold it into position. So we've got as far as that. I'm then going to take this other little piece that we cut, which is the same size, and I'm going to then place that to go on the top, and again I'm just going to insert that to impale it to the base, lift it up and then push it in, and then just do the same, push it all the way down, lift it up, cut it, push it in. And I need to do that several times because I need to make sure that the central fillet, as it were, is going to stay nicely into position. So we've got as far as that. So once we've got as far as that, we're going to work with it not wet. So again, we're going to work with our laurel leaves. So I've cut the laurel leaves so that they measure around about 7 inches in length. And as we know, there's a very short stem here, which is very difficult to make sure that it holds well into the floral foam. So I've cut 18 laurel leaves in total, and I'm going to take the first laurel leaf and I'm going to insert it, and you can see that some of the actual leaf base has gone into the floral foam, and then I hold it, mould it to go round the actual sides of the floral foam, and I'm going to pin it either side of the midrib vein. Now the pins have been made out of 56 or 71mm green lacquered wires so that they don't actually rust, and then I cut using the serrated part of my scissors so that they are round about 2.5 inches in length, hold in the middle, and then with thumb and finger, bring the finger and thumb together, holding the wire at the outside points to create a nice hairpin shaped structure. So I've made a quantity of those. I'm then going to find the next longest leaf, and I'm just going to reverse the process. So I'm going to insert so that it goes way into one of the fillets, so it sits there like so, and then make sure that it sits nice and straight, mould it around the outside edge of the semicircular shape, and then either side of the midrib vein, pin it into position. And we just need to repeat the process, so each time we're inserting quite deeply as much as we can into the floral foam. At some point we need the outside edge to buff up to the midrib vein, but we need to have it so that it will mould around the outside edge so as to hide all of this with the laurel, and then just pin at a diagonal angle into the floral foam to help to hold it into position. And we then just repeat the process each time, making sure that we are able to truly cover the outside edge with the laurel leaf itself, and creating a pattern at the same time. So I'm just inserting, and I feel that this little leaf, as it's a little bit short, needs to have a little help and just insert a wire diagonally towards me to help to hold that into position. And we just repeat the process each time, easing the leaf in, moulding it around the outside edge, making sure that the edge of the leaf buffs up to the midrib vein of the leaf before. And if you go from one side to the other, then you'll find that you're creating a nice even pattern. So I'm moulding it round again and then just pinning like so. And I just want to repeat the process, and I need to make sure that I've tried to cover the whole of the semicircular shape with the laurel leaves to really disguise the floral foam. So I've got as far as that. So I'm just going to turn it round the other way and then just insert in, have the leaf buff up to the midrib vein. I'm just going to ease that round so that I can then just pin. And all we're trying to do is to base really the semicircular shapes with the actual laurel leaves themselves to add that little bit of interest to the design. So I'm just going to just carefully pin and just repeat the process. And again, as I say, I feel that perhaps the leaf here may just want to pop out. So I just want to add just another of those hairpin wires to help to hold it into position. So insert in, make sure that they buff up to the midrib vein. It's of sufficient placement to hide the edges of that floral foam, and then pin on the underside of the shape. And so I've just got 2 more leaves to go. And you never really know, you may use 7 in total for each semicircle, could be 9. It depends really on the actual width of the leaf at the widest point as to whether you use 7 or 9 of these leaves. So I've got as far as this, where I'm using the last of the leaves to cover the base so that they sit there. And then I need to do the edges. So I'm going to insert like so, making sure that the actual stem and part of the leaf has gone all the way down into the floral foam so that I can then just mould it. And I'm going to allow it to puff slightly to try to create a more circular shape, and then again secure it diagonally with a hairpin wire. Turn it round the other way, insert, so I'm inserting it quite deeply for about ½ an inch, then I can then mould it to go around that floral foam, and that too puffs. Hold it into a position where you want it to be pinned and secure. So you're just securing it into position. And then what I'm wanting to do is, I've got some smaller leaves here, and I just want to really again start to hide the fillet of floral foam which is towards the centre. So I'm going to take 4 smallish leaves that measure between 3.5 to 4 inches, and I'm just going to, oh look, that one's popped out. So if it's popped out, I'm just going to insert that back in, hold it into position, and then just secure with a pin diagonally. I think I'll do the same with this one, just to hold it in. So I'm going to take 2 leaves and really start to do the what looks like the pattern of a fleur-de-lis. So I'm just going to position those like so, so that they sit there, and then with 1 pin, pin 1 on one side, either side of the midrib vein, and then do the other, then turn it round the other way, and then I'm just going to repeat the process. So I'm just going to take another leaf, and then I have 2, and position those so that they too just start to wend their way inwards by inserting them into the floral foam, and then just making sure that they're level lay them flat, and then with a little hairpin wire I'm just going to pin either side of the midrib vein like so, and then I've started to disguise it. So now what I need to do is to add a little bit more interest to the design, and so I'm going to work with that lovely leaf, the Cordyline leaf. This variety is called Red Star. I've cut it straight from the main stem, and you'll see that this is quite a woody part which really isn't very flexible. So what I need to do is to remove that, cut that off, so that I have sufficient leaf to actually then be able to mould it, but it has that ability then to manipulate and be held into position. So I'm going to insert, and I'm inserting this at a diagonal angle so that it just sort of starts to sit upwards like so. I don't know if you can see that it's coming up, and then what I'm needing to do is then whilst it's inserted into the floral foam, I need to puff it, and the way I do it is to put 2 fingers at the top like so, mould it so it goes round the actual fingers, and then I can catch hold of it and then pin it onto the base of the floral foam itself. And then I'm going to take another one and do exactly the same on the other side. So I'm inserting it into the floral foam, and then I'm going to then measure it with my 2 fingers. I'm just going to pull that down sufficiently so that they are opposite each other, and then with the hairpin I'm just going to pin it into position. And really all I'm wanting to do is to create an interesting pattern that has a different dimension to this particular design. So I've placed 2 that are coming out diagonally, and then I just position these. I'm thinking that again they should be 2 finger space between the actual laurel leaf and the cordyline, and then just turn that over and secure it into position, and then repeat the process on the other side. So check that it is the 2 finger distance, and then just pin. And so it's really just creating a little bit of a puff so that we have a better sort of look to our design, and we have what's called enclosed space, so that we can actually see the space between the laurel and the cordyline. So obviously what I need to do is to take 2 more of my cordyline leaves and do exactly the same, so that I find that if you're doing what looks like a symmetrical design, if you create a pattern on one side and you repeat that pattern, then it's much easier to construct, and you add that little bit of interest. So again, inserting by pinning the pins so that they're at an acute diagonal angle, and I'm just trying to make sure that the spacing is near enough the same on one side as it is on the other. So I've got as far as that, and we have that lovely little bit of puff. I'm then going to take 2 more of these lovely gorgeous leaves, and then just place 1 like so and 1 like so, again inserting them so that they're coming up to wrap around, to hold into position, and then just pin. And I just need to repeat the process on the other side. So each time we're just creating a little bit more interest. So we've got 5 on one side, so I just need to do the same on the other. So I'm going to take the last 2 here and add those so they too get inserted in at a diagonal angle, again working all in the floral foam that should be wet, but at the moment I haven't put any water on it because it's so much easier then to hold it up, to pin it. You would never be able to do this if you'd soak the floral foam, but what you're wanting to do is to have the physical ability to be able to pin and hold in position. So I've got as far as that. So I'm going to then put it onto a plate. So I have a little bamboo plate here. I've really painted it with PVA glue, which is white when it's wet and then it's clear when it's dry, and that's to help to seal it so it doesn't absorb the water. I then have my little frog here, and I have got my fix, and all I want to do is take a little bit of Oasis Fix, cut off just a little rectangular shape, place it onto the undersurface of the frog, peel off the back, and then make sure that whatever plate you use, it's nice and dry, and you centralise the frog, push it down, and you'll find that the fix will then start to go through the holes that are within the structure of the actual frog itself. And then what I'm going to do then is then just to aim my structure, trying to get it so that it's central, and then just push down to impale it onto the actual frog itself. I'm then going to take a little bit of water, and I'm only going to use a little to start with because I would make sure that I really did well and truly water this. But when you think about it, the only water that needs to actually soak the floral foam is the central fillet. So I'm going to lift this up now, and I'm going to put a little bit of water on here. You will find that some of the water will then cascade down from the base of the semicircles that are being based with the laurel. I'm just going to spin it around the other way, just carefully lift this up, and then just give it a nice little water. And obviously once it's in situ, I would then just give it some more, but I'm going to give this a pint of water to start with. It's amazing how much water is taken up by the floral foam, and then we've actually got that nicely into position like so. Let's just add that little bit more so that I use that full pint, and we're aiming really the water to be where the stems are, and as we know that there is no stem at the edges of the fillet, so I'm watering so that it goes about an inch in. So having actually watered the design, I'm then going to go back to the last piece of my floral foam that we used when we cut it into third lengths, and I'm just going to get a little bit more, and I'm going to then have that so it sits on the top. So I'm going to then impale that with the stick all the way down, and then just lift it up slightly to then position it in, and then repeat the process like so. Insert this all the way down, and it's just hit one of the Cordylines, so I've got to reposition the actual aim of my kebab stick, because I need to make sure it's nice and secure, and I've held that into position like so, and I have got as far as that. I then take a little bit more water, and what I'm going to do is just add just a tiny bit more to that floral foam at the top, just a little bit to start with, just so that we get the proceedings well and truly nicely soaked, so that we then have the floral foam all ready to work with our flowers. And I thought I would work with these gorgeous little ivy leaves, so that I would then add a little interesting design that will go towards the base of the arrangement. So I'm placing a couple of the ivy leaves to extend beyond. The stems have been cut for about an inch in length, and I'm trying to insert these as low down in the floral foam as possible, so that I can utilise that tiny little piece, because what I don't want to do is to use too much of the I haven't got a lot of floral foam to use, and so I need to be able to use it to its best advantage. So I'm using the 6 ivy leaves, and I'm just placing them into the arrangement. So let's just add the last one. Has a slightly softer stem. He really doesn't want to go in, so let's just move that around so I can see just a little bit better, and add him in. And he really doesn't want to go. There we go, he's gone in now. so that we've added those little ivy leaves. Nope, he's gone out again. So let's just add, I'll just take a little bit more off the stem. And I think what I'm going to have to do is to pin it whilst I've inserted it into the foam to make sure that he stays in position. But you won't see the pin anyway, so I'm just pinning it either side of the midrib vein. So I've now got as far as that with my base part of the design. And really what I need to do now is to work this time with my focal flowers first, because I've got such a small piece of floral foam. If you wanted to make a bigger piece, then obviously you can, just to build it up. But I just wanted to show you that you can actually just use the full construction mechanic of the puffed Cordyline design that I did. So I've got those just positioned there. And yes, I really have no access to focal flowers at the moment. We're on total lockdown. And so really what I need to do is to work with these wonderful, wonderful fake flowers. But obviously you with gardens, or you with the ability to go out, can obviously use whatever fresh flowers you want. I'm using a round shaped flower though, because I want repetition of shape. I've got a roundish shape here, and what I want to do is to then link it up with the focal area with my round flowers. So I'm going to insert really the central flower to give that little bit of height. And obviously what I'm trying to do is to look, I would be looking down over it to aim it so it goes straight down. And then what I need to do then is to take 3 more flowers, and what I want to do is to turn them upside down, work out how long I need them to be. And I know that I'm going to have to nibble just a little bit of the stem off, just to be able to insert it into the floral foam without it hitting the bottom. So I've got 3 just here, and I'm just going to position these so that they just nicely nestle in. There we go, that's better. And get them, there we go, can hear them fighting through the different aspects of floral foam, so that we've got the 3 are just sitting, radiating around the central one. And what I've tried to do is to get them so that these are equidistant apart. And then I need to start to hide the mechanics now before I start to work with the next area. So I thought I would work with a gorgeous piece of material called the Cupressus macrocarpa, lovely lime green foliage. When you crush it, it smells just like lemons. It's absolutely beautiful. And I just need some really small little short placements, just so that they don't compete with my focal flower. And so I'm just going to defoliate down, which means remove any of the fronds that are at the base that will potentially penetrate into the floral foam, just in case I make a mistake. So I'm making a very small hole in the foam, and I'm just easing that Cupressus macrocarpa in, just to add that little bit of interest. I'm then going to work with some gorgeous little viburnum tinus. Beautiful little flowers. They're just on their last legs. They've been flowering for around about 2.5 months now. And so I've taken off the leaves, because I really didn't want to have the leaves as part of the design, because I felt really my lovely laurel and ivy with the Cordyline really did help to create an attractive form for my table arrangement. And so I'm just taking these little placements and I'm cutting them so that I can then just insert them so that they create recession, so they give a little depth to the design and also help to hide the mechanics. And then I have the remaining flowers, and what I need to do again is to work out how long these should be, and once I've worked out how long, I will then just take the remainder of these flowers and I just need to cut the stems down. So because these are on wires, I'm just having to use the serrated part of the actual scissors themselves to then be able to cut them. And because I'm going to make just a little sort of posy type design, so I'm just going to then insert these so that they are lower down. I don't need them to extend out too greatly because, to be honest, I feel that the foliage is the main feature of this particular arrangement. So I'm just arranging these to go above the ivy leaves. It also helps to push the ivy leaves further down so that we have the correct spacing. And again, what I'm trying to do is to make sure that these lovely little focal fake flowers also radiate around the central one and that there is even spacing. So once I've done that, I then need to then add a little bit of material to the design. And so I thought I would use a few little of my laurel flowers. Again, they're just about to go. These were in the shade, and I thought they too would look rather attractive. So first of all, I've got to work out how long they need to be. So if I place the tip so it touches the floral foam, I want it to extend a little bit more because of their pointed nature, like a nice piece of line material, and then cut that down. Take off any of the flowers that you feel will cause a big hole when you put them into the floral foam, because I need to put it in for about 1 inch, and I will just see whether it's the right length. And I feel because it's extending beyond the actual little fake flowers here that that's the correct length. So I've got 5 flowers that are radiating at the base, which means that I need to create a little pattern of 5 of these laurel flowers. So each time I'm just concentrating on making sure that each of the stems are cut to the same length, and then they are just having the little flower heads removed where they may end up in the floral foam. So I'm just using a template each time so that we make sure that the design is as round as possible. So I've just got the last one to cut and then to arrange into the arrangement. And again, by inserting these down as low as you possibly can in that small little piece of floral foam, you'll find that you can quite easily then arrange it. And that is the secret really to floral design. You do not need to have big chunks of foam in order to arrange your flowers in, because if you use larger pieces of floral foam, you need far more foliage and other materials to disguise it. And so really the secret really is to use small little pieces. So I've now placed the materials in like so, and then really I can just see elements of the foam itself. So what I'm going to do is go back to using my Cupressus macrocarpa and just use small little pieces so that they're not competing with the flowers, but what they are doing is literally then hiding the floral foam, the mechanic that we're working with. So we've made a design which is the puffed cordyline design that we've used for a table arrangement, and now we've just made a little puffed cordyline pillow, which is another arrangement, and it's very nice to work with and have as a coffee table design, because you really do look down upon the arrangement to see all the materials in all the glory. And it's nice just to have something that is just a little bit different to help to add that little bit of distinction. Clever use of using plant materials in a way that adds a lot of interest to the design. So each time, small pieces, defoliate down to get a naked stem to go into the floral foam. But then I need to link the top placement with the reason why we have the cordyline just here. So what I'm going to do is to cut the stem this time at a 45-degree angle to get a point, and then I'm going to insert it into the foam. So I'm pushing it in, and I'm going to get a little hairpin ready, and I just want to make a little loop and then just pin the cordyline up against the floral foam with the loop, just to add a little bit of interest. and that just links it together so that we have the cordyline at the base of the design, and then we have the cordyline within the design in the little spray, as it were, that is at the top. So you just manipulate the loop to how you want it to be, take a hairpin, and this time either side of the leaf so it catches hold, and then you push the wire up against the floral foam to add that lovely little bit of interest. So again, 45-degree angle cut, and then just ease it in. So just ease it in till you know that it's not going to flick out, so it looks like so. Get your wire and then just loop it. And I don't want it to loop over the top of the one of my fake flowers, because obviously if you're using some gorgeous real roses, you really wouldn't want to hide those roses with your cordyline looping. So a little contemporary technique called looping. You then just fluff your flowers, your materials up where you feel that you've hidden the mechanics. Just give it a quick little check to see whether there's any more floral foam showing, and I feel I can just see a little placement here that needs that extra little bit of something in the design. And there you have a very simple to make but effective way of using the same floral foam again. And yes, I've had to use the same flowers, as I have no ability to get fresh flowers from anywhere at the moment, but I think you'll agree that's a really effective design. So hopefully you've enjoyed your Jill McGregor how-to, and please come back and have a look at another video that I'll be producing. So please keep safe and keep well. Thank you.